Isn't it funny how day by day nothing changes, but when you look back everything is different? This is a quote by C.S. Lewis in his book entitled The Prince of Caspian, the second book of the series of the Chronicles of Narnia. The life of C.S. Lewis is one of legacy and of literary works, which includes intellectual accomplishments as well as extraordinary service and hospitality. His legacy lives on through his home called the Kilns. After watching Tolkien and Lewis, Myth, Imagination, and the Quest for Meaning by Chip Duncan and produced by Patricia Ostermick, as well as reading multiple articles like The Center of Study at the Kilns by Kevin Belmonte, as well as The Generous Heart of C.S. Lewis by Joel Woodruff in 2013, I have a better understanding of the life of C.S. Lewis as well as his values. Today I would like to commemorate the literary works of C.S. Lewis as well as his legacy. And this is going to include, first, his literary works, his authorship of more than 30 books. Second, his service in the British Army in World War I and World War II. And third, his legacy that lives on through his home called the Kilns, as well as the C.S. Lewis Institute here in America. Let me first begin by describing the thing that he was most famous for, which was his books. He authored more than 30 books, and this includes works of nonfiction, which was Christian apologetics, which is books that are describe foundational truths as well as beliefs of the Christian religion. And also it includes an autobiography entitled Surprised by Joy, which is a spiritual journey story of C.S. Lewis that includes his theism to atheism, back to theism, and then landing on Christianity in his early 20s. Along with his nonfiction works were his fiction works, which includes the Screwtape Letters, which is a very popular Christian book, as well as the Chronicles of Narnia, probably the most notable. The Chronicles of Narnia have sold over 100 million copies according to Wikipedia and made into multiple major motion pictures. Along with his literary works, C.S. Lewis also nobly served his country in the British Army. For World War I, he served in France on the front lines of the Somerset Light Infantry, according to Peter Skokel in 2018. He was wounded, though, in battle by an exploding shell and eventually was discharged because of that. And also during World War II, he tried to re-enlist. So he put in his re-enlistment, but eventually it was rejected because of his age and his wounds. So instead of serving his country, he served his country like in his country. So he used his mind and his home instead of just his body. When he used his mind, BBC, the radio station, actually approached him to host a series of radio talks. And this was called The Problem of Pain. It was a 4-part series, and eventually it was transposed to become the book published as entitled Mere Christianity. Also, in addition to these published works in his radio talk shows, he also opened up his home, and that was a way to serve his country as well. He allowed displaced children of war into his home to find refuge and find a haven from the war. And this eventually inspired the Chronicles of Narnia. In addition to this, so I have talked about his literary works as well as his service in the British Army, and now I'll be talking about his legacy, which includes his home called the Kilns and the C.S. Lewis Institute, which is here in America in Oregon. So I'll start with the Kilns. This was an expansive property, and it was bought and restored by the C.S. Lewis Institute. It served as a safe haven not only for these children, but right now it serves as a quiet place of study, fellowship, and creative scholarly works, as stated by the C.S. Lewis Institute. They also offer residence to Christian advanced graduate students at Oxford University, as well as visiting scholars. So in addition to these residents, they also offer tours So you could do individual or group tours of the whole grounds and the home. Also, they offer these summer seminars really to anybody who's willing to come, which is kind of cool. So I talked about the literary works, the service as well, and now I just talked about his legacy. So in conclusion, the life of C.S. Lewis was riddled by intellectual accomplishments as well as amazing hospitality and amazing service, which is something that we could all emulate together. That's something that's worth noting. And his intellectual abilities was something that was hard to rival, but his work of his heart and his generosity is something that we can all hope to accomplish as well.